What's up, you wonderful folks? This is Alex with Swamp Rat Fishing, and today is a new episode of Bass and Brews. You know, your friendly podcast where we're not very professional, we're not really good at it, but gosh darn do we try. Tonight, we've got Paul Roberts, a.k.a. Paul Heels on Instagram. Before we get to my wonderful guest, first I want to talk about Hookset Hoodlums. Right now, at the time of this recording, they just dropped some new merch. They just dropped my personal favorite, the Hookset versus Everyone shirt. One, it's an amazing company. It's an amazing pro staff team. And by that, I mean it's more than a team. We've all become a family. Everybody fishes hard, gives each other a large amount of bullshit, and it's just amazing. So if you head over to hooksethoodlums.com, use promo code SwampRatFishing, all one word, you can get yourself a discount. Also, I want to give a shout out to Damien over at Stretching Lines Angler Gear. So Damien's running this. It's a pretty new company. He's only been out for about a year and a half, 2 years. He has some killer soft plastics. And what makes his company really great is he's got a website, which is stretchinglines.com. You go over there. He's got the normal, affair of colors. But you hit him up on Instagram, he will make any custom combination that you want. I sent him what I like to now refer to as a Swamp Rat Special, which is a very dark purple June bug that just works in my tannic waters. Dude was able to recreate it perfectly. It's like a dark purple with a blue and red flake. It's just money. So definitely hit him up on Instagram. He's Stretching Lines Angler Gear, and you can also go to stretchinglines.com. So tonight, we've got Paul Roberts. We've decided, me and him talked, we said we need to bring in, a little Southern influence into this podcast. And because I'm a very unprofessional, shitty podcast, I forgot to introduce the beer. So tonight, we've got Cape May Brewing Company, Follow the Gull. This thing is an IPA. It says it's citrusy, tropical, and juicy at a 5.5. Let's see here. They say you should drink it with tacos, chicken, and sunshine. Cape May, you're not lying. It's delicious. It's delicious with bass fishing, basements, and bullshitting also. So, Paul, tell me about yourself, man. I'm so happy to have you on. Like we talked about kind of before we did this, it's nice to have a Southern influence into this. We might have to put captions up. We kind of chit-chatted about that. But you're from North Carolina, is that correct?
Yeah. So first, I want to say I got the helmet on, which I've got it on for a couple more minutes. Anytime I drink, my wife makes me wear my protective headgear. Once she goes to bed, I can take this off because it's very uncomfortable. Second, I want to shout out my local beer.
Yeah, what Carolina
Brewing Company. Hop Roar, which is a 7.5% IPA, and Carolina Brewing Company is the OG of breweries here in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill Triangle, North Carolina area.
You know what's funny is I've actually had that beer and it is delicious. Like no joke, not bullshitting for some kind of clout or whatever. Like I've had that beer, it's delicious.
Where?
So I used to live in Philly. And so I still work in Philly. I just live outside of it now. But they have it at like 2 different pubs up in Philly.
Dude, literally the brewery is a 16th of a mile from my house.
Oh, that's dangerous for me. That's dangerous.
Dude, it is. And look, you can go into this brewery and drink back where they brew beer.
I love it.
In the brew room.
I love it. I love it, man.
I got to take this helmet off. Y'all don't tell my wife. Wear this with her, so let me put my hat on.
I'll tell you what, speaking of breweries, I love this. Like, some people might think it's the hat. I just saw it. I love that these little breweries will let you come in, watch where they make it.
Yeah.
Get messed up while they make it. It's amazing. I love it.
Look, I walk in, the owners over there throwing, cardboard boxes off the top to put into the 6-packs.
I love it.
It's great. It's a wonderful place. It's been here since 1995 in Holly Springs. It is literally because we got Asheville, which is one of the micro brewery places, capitals of the world. But this little brewery has been in where I live now in Holly Springs, North Carolina. Has been here since '95. It literally is one of the OG breweries of this triangle area.
I'm about to say that's got to be even farther. Like, obviously, I rep Cape May. They don't sponsor it, but Cape May, I just put a thing up. You really should sponsor me. It'd be really great for my bank account if I could get some kickback. Well, but they've only been around for like 7-8 years. Like 95, that's a long time.
It's dude, that is pre microbrewery blow up by
that's pre hipster.
By at least 10 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, it is crazy, dude. Same place, same little area. The area I live in now is huge. It's got like 30,000 people in it. But in 95, it had 10,000 people and was an afterthought of the area. So, we want to talk about breweries and beer and people picking a place. It's really amazing. So, anyway, I mean,
we haven't got to the questions, but I'll even gush about North Carolina. Like I'm in the great state of New Jersey. I mean, I use that word great, liberally.
Look, you've got Taylor ham or pork roll.
No, and that was a quick fire question. It's not Taylor ham. We're going to close down the interview right now.
Or pork roll.
It's pork roll.
Got some really good, what we call down here, sub sandwiches.
Hoagies.
Sub sandwiches. But I didn't mean to interrupt. Finish this.
No. I totally get actually the subs. But North Carolina, so the buddy that actually got me into bass fishing, he really he learned on the river that I fish all the time, but he really honed his craft. He was stationed in Wilmington. And all he does is talk about how it is in North Carolina. And I keep telling the wife, listen, when the kids are out of the house, we're moving, and I told her we're gonna move to a nice lake. Well, I said I'm gonna move to a nice lake. I want a nice double wide trailer, and she goes, "Ooh, I don't know about all that." And I said, "Well, sweetheart, at that point, we've had a good run.
You just
and I'm not saying get divorced."
Hold up, time out. And this is lost in translation part, right?
Okay.
In New Jersey, what's the definition of a double wide?
It's
is it a tractor trailer you pull behind you on a fifth?
No. I want a trailer that I can hang my dirty underwear off of it. You know what I mean? I want to go full trash. I don't want any semblance that you would ever invite me to a nice dinner. That's what I want.
So you want a true? All right, that was my question. You want a true double wide?
No. I want a true double wide. I want wood paneling, hopefully from the 80s.
Well, not from the 80s because you're gonna get a lot of mold. But I can
all right with that.
I can hook you up with a mid to late 90s double wide.
I'll take it, man.
It's probably got a brick foundation on it now too.
That's fancy.
Yeah, this ain't fancy. A double wide number. It's a double wide house, not a double wide trailer.
So I told her all that, and she's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Hey, I mean, I don't want to get a divorce. I love you dearly. We can meet once a quarter to smush for 4 days, and then I go back to fishing, and you go back to what you're doing. But I don't want to be in that state after these kids."
Job. What's that?
She's a mail carrier, so she's got a good job.
That's a good ass job. That's now.
No. We're both sucking off the teat of federal funding and that federal pension.
Hey, dude, I used to be a wildland firefighter. So I was a federal wildland firefighter. And, it doesn't matter, but I left that to go do some other stuff that's kind of led me to where I am now. Mm-hmm. So I completely understand working off that federal teat, even though as a wildland firefighter, shit gets hairy pretty often and pretty quick. And it was a good time. But we all off ass topic.
No, we're way off. So let's start from the beginning. We'll rewind it back. We've got Paul Roberts on. Already loving this interview. I did right because I'm trying to be professional on this podcast. I don't think it's going to work. But anyway, so we've got Paul Roberts on. He's from North Carolina.
As in beer in your title. So we're
exactly
good. People know what to expect.
So we got Paul Roberts. He's a kayak angler from North Carolina. He's a lot more, as you guys have already heard. He names his fish. He's a beekeeper. Like, we've got so much to unbox in this. Like, I just can't wait. But let's start at the beginning on how you got into fishing in the outdoors.
So I'm originally from South Carolina, little small town, South Carolina. It's got about 700 people in it. The town's 1 square mile, and only about 200 to 700 live in the town.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's known for A.O. Smith water heaters and peaches.
Okay.
And so where I was from, though, had a lot of farm ponds, and my grandpa owned, back in the day, one of the peach farms in the area. And we about to get in some country shit now.
Oh, I love it. I've got the closed captions ready.
Y'all follow along. So I'm 4 years old, and I want to go fishing. I can't remember why, whatever the reason. But at the farm, we had the hog pond. And it was called the hog pond because they raised hogs.
Mm-hmm.
And for, I don't know, about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, of the hog pen was the pond. They called it the hog pond because you'd go out there and damn the hogs were over there wallering.
All up in it.
Up on the bank in the pond. But where I'm from in South Carolina is a lot of longleaf pines, so it's a lot of tannic water. So we got that sweet tea, coffee, black water that's clear, but the fish are beautiful.
Yes.
And typically that tannic water is very nutrient rich. So you have huge turtles and y'all call them up there pike or damn, what the hell's the other word y'all call pike?
Pickerel. Well, we call them chain. Well, they're chain pickerel where we're at, but you guys call them jackfish, right?
Yeah. So down here we call them some bitches jackfish.
Yep.
And we'll get some big ones. And so when we catch jackfish, they're so bony they're hard to eat. We usually use them as catfish bait. Anyway.
Fair enough.
We get to the hog pond, and my grandpa, who was a golfer, takes me down to the hog pond, and I didn't have a Snoopy reel or no shit like that. I don't know. It was a black and blue with a clear rod, little kid reel. Mm-hmm. We get down there with a cork. We throw it in. I'll be damn, I catch a bass. I have no idea how big this bass was. It could have been a pound. It could have been 8 pounds. But it was big enough that I reeled it in. We have no, this is 1985. We didn't have no stringer, no bucket, no nothing. I'm like, we keeping this. And you got to understand, my grandpa was a farmer. We don't waste time. We out here to fish. We out here to catch a fish. We catch fish. It's time to go back to work.
Right.
It's catch a fish. I'm like, we keeping this fish. And he's like, no, we don't have no stringer, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I want to eat this fish. He breaks off a branch of a tree. We string the fish up. We take it back home. My daddy had hurt his back, was laid up in bed. I walk in with this fish on a piece of wood off a tree as my stringer. I'm like, we cooking this fish. We walk in. My mama's in there getting ready. She's a school teacher, getting ready for school. I'm like, we cooking this fish. All I remember is we go out there, we clean the fish in the backyard. And we get a frying pan and we fry the damn fish up. I remember eating it. I don't remember anything after that. But that started me in the fishing. And
I'm going to tell you right now, Paul, that is the most country-ass story I've ever heard for starting fishing. I love it. That is.
I mean, yeah, we literally fried the fish up on a piece of wood fire on the carport. We weren't even in the yard. We put a little fire on an old cast iron frying pan with probably butter. Hell, I don't know.
Oh, it's probably Crisco. Just Crisco for days.
Yeah. I mean, so we fried that thing up, but that's where, so to put it all in perspective, that's how I didn't live on the farm. I lived in town, the town of 200. 1 square mile big, right?
City boy, right?
That's right. But I loved outdoors. I love fishing. That's what got me started. My grandpa, who took me fishing originally, loved to golf, and every time he took me golfing, which was pretty often, the only thing I could think about, anytime we got around water, I was always down there at the water because I
Mhm.
drove golf cart, ain't golf. He was drinking and golfing and playing for money. I'm down there at the water looking at where the fish were going to be. And so, but my daddy, on the other hand, he didn't know shit about fishing, but he went and bought us this little jacked up John boat and this little motor, and me and him would go out and fish. And he had a buddy through his work that was a good angler. And matter of fact, we say, why the fuck we fishermen? Ain't nobody saying we huntermen or hunter women. I mean, why the fuck we fishers? You a hunter, I'm a fisher, right?
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Hell
I
yeah,
see. I honestly thought you were going to go the other way. How come we're not anglers? I guess that would be the more fancy way.
I used the term angler.
Yeah, no.
I was thinking today, we hunters,
Right?
ain't we fishers?
We should be fishers.
Hell, we gonna start that shit tonight.
Listen, I blame it on the fly fishermen. I blame it on the fly fishermen. If anybody knows this show, even though we had Big Nasty on last week, fly fishermen can eat a dick, and it's their fault for why anybody thinks we're douchey. So,
speaking of some past, y'all go check out Lockwood Fishing.
Lockwood,
an amazing beard, and my man has that northern accent like nobody's business. But go check out his latest post today, which have been 6'9", and you can see where his beard came from. It's from his buddy Aubrey's side cuts.
I love Lockwood. What's going to be great? So this is going to come out, and then you know it's funny. So Paul, you haven't seen it yet. I got Big Nasty coming on. He's actually coming on at time of recording in 2 days, right? So him and Lockwood, probably like 2 months ago, met up, and it was the most amazing story. Like they only talked on Instagram like twice, and then so Big Nasty rolls down there, and Big Nasty's like he's a big Filipino cowboy from Connecticut who fly fishes. And he goes down.
Cowboy from Connecticut,
yeah,
who fishes.
Yep.
Holy shit! It sounds like an absolute star to me.
Yep. So then he goes down to Crumpton, Maryland with Lockwood, who is this man. He's become the mascot of Hookset. This dude is unfiltered, uncensored, tons of knowledge.
Yeah, and follow him on Instagram. I love him. Dude's awesome.
Dude's awesome, and we're trying to get him to write a book. Because I mean, other podcasts talk about it. The more professional ones like Jigs and Biggs and Bobby Baloney and all those guys over there. But they talk about this Hookset Hoodlums pro staff thread or DM chat that we have on Instagram. And Lockwood likes to send us to sleep every other night with a story that usually involves cocaine, hookers, and jail time. It's insane. So they hooked up like 2-3 months ago.
Of Hookset Hoodlums.
Dude, Johnny Cash would blush around this man. So like 2-3 months ago, Cody went out and visited him, and they had an amazing time. He got Cody like catching big old bass on jigs, and we're talking about a fly fisherman transitioning to like a bottom finesse jig. So they're gonna do it again. So if you guys haven't watched either of those, watch those, and then stay tuned because we're gonna have both of them on like a special 2-hour. It's not going to be Bass and Brews. It's going to be Bass and hard liquor only. It's going to be insane.
Have me on a guest for the hard liquor because, look, I can drink a 750 Evan Williams Green Label in no time, but it's a good time in no time, if that makes sense.
No, listen, the last time I drank hard liquor on this podcast was the Wild Bill episode. And dude, when I stumbled up from my basement, my wife looked at me and she just looked at me and went, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Because all she could do was hear me yelling down here, just piss drunk. Like, and at one point I remember on that one going like, "You've only had 3 beers, or you've only had 2 beers. I've had 3, but I didn't count the bullet bourbon I had on the side either." Like an idiot.
Look, so today Wild Bill put a post on there, and if y'all look through my Instagram, you'll see transition pants tagged. And so today, today, while Bill put a damn like this shit together of his kayak and him doing all this shit, and then he had swim shorts on.
Yeah.
Now he had Crocs. I like that Crocs. Crocs with no
Crocs.
socks. That's my hashtag. It can be 25 degrees outside. I'm wearing Crocs with no socks when I go fishing. I don't wear none of this damn wetsuit, dry suit shit. I wear the least amount of possible. Hold
on. You're also in North Carolina, so you don't need the wetsuit, dry suit, any of that.
Bro, 22 degrees in North Carolina is the same damn as 22 degrees where you are. 22 degrees is 22 degrees.
All right.
I have fished numerous times. I wear Crocs with no socks. I wear my transition pants. They pants when you need pants.
Transitions.
Hey-oh. And then I usually wear 3 layers of clothes. Like, I'm cold as shit, but here's the deal. This is the way I look at it. If you fall in the water, the number one thing is to get out the water and to get the land. Correct. And so you wearing all this shit and you fall in the water, it's hard to get up out the water. And then you got to take all this shit off. So, like,
my big thing is when I see dudes who are like, hey, I'm prepped for cold water, and then they put on waders and then they get in a kayak. So funny total. Again, sidetrack. This is going to be the episode of Sidetracks.
I'm a tangent motherfucker. I'm a tangent.
I love it. So 3 months ago, I worked a SAR case. If you guys don't know, I'm in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I worked a SAR case, and this guy was out in his Hobie. Maybe we'll get to that. Maybe that boat's just a disaster and for douchebags as well. I don't know. We'll see. But he was out, and he went to go take a piss out of his Hobie. And he was in the inlet, just off of the inlet, and he took a swell, and he fell in while wearing waders. So this guy, he's super lucky. He was able to grab the side of the Hobie, but he couldn't get up because the waders filled up. And it was an outgoing tide, so he started getting taken out of the inlet into the Atlantic Ocean. So we got him about 1.5 miles offshore. And we grabbed him, and he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I just went to take a piss. And he's like, I don't know if this water is ocean water or piss at this point.
But he keep you warm for at least a minute or two.
Yeah. People got to be careful with them waders. So speaking of Hobies, so you're a kayak angler. What do you run for a kayak? And how did you get into kayaks?
All right. So back to the Grandpa hog pond fishing.
Yeah.
Daddy got us a boat. We fished.
Grandpa had a Hobie.
Yeah. Grandpa had a Hobie. Grandpa was interested in no boats or fishing. He's interested in farming and golf.
Right.
But Daddy bought a little old beat up ass John boat with a trolling motor, and we fished in that. And he had a buddy. We used to just go out there with a Mepps Minnow. Does anybody, you might know the Mepps Minnow is a spinner with the Mepps on it. And down here in this hog pond where we started fishing fish for I don't know, a year or two, we caught bass, jackfish, pickerel, brent, bluegill, and down here in the South we don't call them panfish. Panfish is the shit that is in the pan that you're gonna eat. We call them bluegill or they pumpkin seeds. We call them by what the hell they really are. Because down here in the South we all about technicalities. So.
Said no one ever.
Yeah. So we catch all this shit and we would that's what we used was Mepps minnows. And every now and again we throw on a damn curly tail worm, but we would hook it through like you would, a night
it around.
So run it right on through. Open hook, get caught. We didn't fish it because she'd get caught or anything. We didn't fish the bank. We fished out in the middle, which honestly, when we look back at it now, just fishing out in the middle so that we didn't get hung up was one of the best things ever. Because we were able to catch some fish because fish live in the deep and they come up to the shallow. Right. And so anyway, we did this and my daddy ended up, he had a buddy of his he worked with that knew how to fish. And we started fishing. His name, Mr. Tommy, man. We met fishing with Mr. Tommy all over. We caught some good ass fish, and that's really where it started with me learning how to fish. Mm-hmm. From a standpoint of not just throw and retrieve.
Right.
And then we had some other folks here in the town that I worked in that fish in, back in the 80s and 90s, the I don't even know what the hell it is now to compare it, but it's the Red Man series.
Okay.
So it was like a regional and local bass series that people fish to get into bass. And it was Red Man, as in Red Man tobacco, like chewing tobacco.
Yeah, the chewing tobacco, right?
Yeah, it's back in the days when tobacco companies were sponsoring your little league baseball teams.
Right. The Marlboro Marauders. That was actually the name of my little league team.
And your coach was out smoking cigarettes on third base.
Like he was a chimney. Like he was a chimney.
Well, because you're from California originally, right?
No, Washington State.
Oh, Washington. Okay,
yeah. It's basically the same thing.
Damn, look, I fought fire in Kettle Falls, Washington. You know where that is?
Where I don't know. Where is it close to? What's the next biggest town?
That's almost in Canada.
Oh, so you're up north. Are you
Northwest,
west or east of the north or west of the Cascades?
Northwest Washington, Kettle Falls.
Okay.
Google it. It's 2021. We can Google it. But it was like a mile from, I was fighting wildfires a mile from Canada in Kettle Falls. And then by the end of the detail, we were in Hills Canyon, Oregon.
Oh, shit. Okay. I think I know what fire you're talking about, too. That was, yeah.
It was, I don't know. This should have been 2008. Anyway, see, here we go. Tangent. So anyway, Grandpa, hog pond, daddy fishing, Tommy fishing, red man fishing. I fished every little farm pond known to man where I grew up. Had permission to fish them all, fish some lakes with some buddies here and there. And like my dream was to be, a professional fisherman and fish. And I played sports all through high school, had an opportunity to go to University of North Carolina to play football, which I went and did in 2000. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened, that cut out pretty much all of my fishing.
Sure.
And so 2000, I think it was 5 or 6, done with football, finishing up college. It had been 2004. And I joined a local bass club as a non-boater, the only non-boater in the club, and fished with them for a couple years. And during that time, I graduated college. I was a police officer. And then I went from being a police officer to being a wildland firefighter.
Okay.
So all this shit took me down to, in 2008, South Carolina, back where I grew up. So I'm fishing. I got a little bass boat. I'm fishing. And then I get another job in Aiken, South Carolina, which is North Augusta. And my fishing stops. This is 2009. And pretty much fishing stops. But where we buy a house a quarter mile from the Savannah River. So we buy, it's called an Avalon 120. And it is a Walmart kayak. But it ain't a fucking Sun Dolphin bullshit. Like this is a real kayak. It ain't no 2-piece bullshit. I mean, it's a real kayak.
Was it a sit-in or a sit on top?
It's a sit-in. I mean, I got this bit right here up in the look. I'll try to show you.
Okay, what we got?
I got it in the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
12 feet. It's 80 pounds. Like this is a real kayak.
That's a tank. Yeah.
Yeah. It for the river and ponds, unbelievable.
And what year is this?
This would have been 2015, 16.
Yeah, so that's pretty that's pretty good for that time too. Like that's not I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about like when I was looking at this kayak, I wasn't looking at Hobies, but when I was looking at this one, it's honestly it looks exactly like the Wilderness System kayaks.
Okay.
Exactly the same design.
Yeah.
So I buy this just to go in the Savannah River for us to kayak. We bought that, and we bought my wife a 10-foot or 12-foot Sun Dolphin sit-in because we could take both kids in it. And at this point in time, I was strictly ultralight fishing. So I was taking a 16th or a 32nd ounce jig head with a 3/4 inch power minnow. And see, down here in the South, we don't say power. We say power.
Power. I'm going to have to write that one down. Power. Yeah. Just cutting out words there, or just cutting out letters and adding more in.
Well, look, we talk slow, so we got to be quick. So we take the power minnow.
Oh, I got to write down that quote right there. We talk slow, so we got to be quick.
That's right. So we take the power minnow, we throw it out there on a court like we're fishing with a cricket, and anything in that fucking body of water will eat that 3/4 inch power minnow. Bass, crappie, brim, catfish, and it don't matter the damn size. So I was doing that because it was easy and fun. I wanted to get into bass fishing. I found kayak catfishing. If you ever go on YouTube, kayak catfishing, dude is.
I don't remember if I remember him. I think maybe I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
He's in Tennessee. Name's Justin. He catches some badass. He's probably the best kayak. Well, he's just the best cat fisherman on the internet.
Right.
So anyway, I got into wanting because I was on the Savannah River, and so where we are in the Augusta, Georgia area, the rapids end. So past Augusta, Georgia, there's no more rapids. They end right there. They're smallmouth in those rapids. Now, they're not big. They're not like you Yankee smallmouth. They ain't no 5-6 pounds, but you could go catch 3 and 4 pound smallmouth in the Savannah River.
Fun story. There's nowhere in South Jersey that has smallmouth. I might be a Yankee, but we don't have smallmouth.
Hey, speaking of that, make sure we come back to Do You Know Ike? And I got a reason for it, but just remind. Remind. So anyway, we do all this shit. We got a small little they built a railroad track, and where they built the railroad track, they had to dig out a borrow pit. They dug out this borrow pit. Right behind my house was a pond. So I just did ultralight fishing because it was fun. It was something easy for the kids.
Hold on real quick. You said borrow pit, like a sand pit?
Yeah, like a borrow pit.
Okay.
Yeah, borrow pit. Where they had to build up the railroad tracks. So they borrowed. So they borrowed the shit from the ground.
They burrow, a burrow pit. Gotcha.
No. A borrow
pit. I gotcha.
Borrow, not a burrow. A burrow inquires that they went under the ground. They burrowed under the ground.
That's a good point.
They borrowed it. So they dug the dirt up.
They borrowed it. They just took it for a little.
They dug that shit up and moved it to the side. They borrowed it. Because in the South, you don't ever take nothing.
Right. You just borrow. You borrow it.
My neighbor, if I want to go next door and I go to my neighbor, Miss Elena, I'm like, Miss Elena, let me borrow some Crown Royal. And say, yeah, come on. You can. I borrowed a Crown Royal. I poured it in my cup. And she's gonna get something. It might not be Crown Royal.
It might not be Crown.
I mean, I bake artisan sourdough bread and cinnamon rolls. She's probably gonna get cinnamon rolls in return.
So wait, hold on. Let's take a time out here. Everybody at home, let's get our checklist correct about Paul. So we've got a college football player at UNC, correct? We've got a woodland firefighter. Wildland, sorry. And then we've got police officer. We've got the newest one, which is now artisan bread maker.
Well, that's not the newest. I've been making some artisan.
Well, I mean, in our story of Paul, we've just now found about artisan. So, I mean, listen, I'm going to have you on for the next one, and we're going to do a bingo sheet, and we got to figure out where we got to put our squares.
Look, and people could just randomly guess shit that I've done and probably be right.
They must be right.
A 4-year period time frame in my life from 2014 to 2018. That those 4 years are a lifetime of resumes for the average human being.
Sure.
So anyway, now you done got me off of this. Oh,
got you on there.
With we doing all this. I wanted, like, I've got all this bass fishing gear that I accumulated in high school. The 2 years I fished and in the little bass club here in Alamance. And then that, that one year, 2008, that I had a small little project bass boat I was working on that worked. And I took out fishing to a little local lake. And I bought some stuff with the idea I was going to bass fish. And then that shit ended in 2009.
Okay.
We move in that area, Savannah River. I don't bass fish. I've got these ultralights. I got, 3.5, 4 foot Shakespeare ugly sticks with the smallest reels and 4-pound test.
Yep.
And I just wanted whatever we catch,
just
right?
Multi-species, right?
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. I throw that shit out there. Whatever we catch, we catch. So we moved back to North Carolina in 2019. And in the area we are is, if you're familiar with bass fishing, MLF especially in this year and then 2 years ago, where I live, we got Jordan, Falls, and Sharon Harris.
Yep.
And so we're talking about not Falls, even though Falls got good bass, but you're talking about Jordan, which
Biggins.
3 years ago when that set of whatever record they have. Sharon Harris is known for huge fish, even though we're going through some transition shit here the last 3 years. Anyway, I go out and ultralight fish in 2019. Have a good time in May. Start a business that fails. I turn into, a house husband when COVID hits.
Okay.
When they end schools here. Do that, start another business. And the end of 2020, December, I go out and I take my little Avalon 120 out to Sharon Harris to bass fish some. Like I literally pull out reels from 2008 that have all monofilament,
right?
Been relined since then. Like I go out and I just want to start bass fishing, and then I'm looking for bass clubs that accept non-boaters. And make contact with a couple people. Some don't have non-boaters. Went out fish with a guy. And then somehow, I don't even remember how at this point, I came across kayak fishing. I'm like, motherfucker, I got a kayak.
Right? Right?
I got a kayak. I got rod and reels. Shit. So I start looking at, I tell my wife, I'm going to start kayak fishing. Go out to Sharon Harris one day, the wind's blowing, there's a bunch of boats out on the water. I take my little Avalon across the lake when it's nice and pretty. On the way back, it's like the fucking deadliest catch. And at this point in time, I wasn't no life jacket. That bitch was in the back hatch. It wasn't even a hatch. It's under the back bungee cords.
Right.
Like halfway through the lake, I can't stand up in the kayak. It's too skinny.
Right.
That was the biggest problem with the kayak too. Like, I love the kayak, but every time I had to fucking piss, and I drink a lot of coffee and water, I had to paddle to the shore to go pee.
Right.
Do you understand how long that takes?
Dude, I had a paddle kayak and I had to do the exact same thing. I had the Ascend 10T and I could kind of stand in that.
Yeah.
But God forbid I've got the pecker out and a stiff wind comes by. I'm overboard noodling for snapper turtle at that point. Yeah.
I couldn't even kneel in mine because my pecker's too small to reach over the edge. But anyway, it sucked to stand up to have to pee. And I drink a lot of coffee and water, especially in the morning. So I'm paddling across, and the kayak doesn't have a rudder, but it tracks straight. Like, as a pond and river kayak for $500, if you want an entry kayak, go to fucking Walmart and see if they got that Avalon, because I ain't lying, that bitch is good. Now, the dry hatches ain't dry, they wet as fuck. But
they Walmart dry.
Yeah, it paddles fast and
That's
straight.
good.
It's a great kayak for ponds and rivers. But you get in Sharon Harris, and
that's big water,
and you're in the deadliest catch, and your nose is going under waves. Like, it ain't for that shit. So anyway, I'll start telling my wife, look,
you're good.
I want to condense my life into family, my business, and fishing. Like not all this other shit. And so I get a Hobie 14.
So you went from So you went from the $500. I mean, not the Walmart special, as I like to call it, right? That's like the 8-foot sun dolphin, where I see the dude with an 8-foot sun dolphin. He's got a black pack on the back with 12 rods, and I'm like, what dude? Maybe like you need to upgrade, right? But I mean, you had a good Walmart, and then you went to the Cadillac, like you went to the Escalade, all the way to the top.
So there are ponds here locally. There are ponds a couple hours from here and in between that are heavily grass laden. And so I did my research.
Yep.
So this was this year, the beginning of this year when I started looking. So we're not talking about we're not talking about 2 years ago or anything like that. I mean, we're talking about pretty recently.
Right.
And I wanted the Hobie, when I looked at it, the stability wise, and not just the stability, but the deck width. How much deck, the storage capability in that front hatch, all that stuff. But honestly, what sold me on the Hobie and the main reason I went with it is that fin system. There's not anybody that will argue the propeller system versus the fin system in grass.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Like I'll argue it so grass, you're absolutely right. But so do you have the 360? Do you have instant reverse?
I wish I've got catch a fish and go down there and try to do your shit.
Yeah.
I got the 180. Now,
I fish in heavy grass, and I know that the Hobie's better because of the flutter kick, right? You learn your little flutter kick. I have found that instant reverse for me makes up. So, I mean, for people who don't know, and for some reason, if you're listening to my shitty podcast and you don't kayak fish,
what are you in?
I'm in a Old Town Topwater 120 PDL.
Okay, so a badass fucking boat.
Yep, it's kind of like me personally, I think it's Hobie, and then me personally, I think it's Old Town when you count their warranty and everything else. Like I know a lot of people like the Wilderness System ones and the Jackson ones, and some crackheads like the Vibe ones. But when it comes to pedal kayaks, that's kind of where I think it's at. And I think for me with the Old Town having that instant reverse. Because if anybody's been in that kayak, when you set into a fish, one, you lose so much leverage compared to a boat. Like if you look at those guys on bass boats and shit like that, like when they set into a heavy fish, you're watching this bass boat move. And then it's even like 3 times as much when you're in that kayak, right? So me being able to set and then instantly move in reverse to one, help secure that hook set, but also to move that fish from cover so I don't spook the rest that are in there. For me, that's what sold me on an Old Town. But you are absolutely right. I cannot run it through the thick stuff that I'd like to go into. I actually have to pull that drive out because it gets caught up. It's a prop system.
Yeah. And so, when it comes down to your kayaks and all that shit, I mean, you get a kayak that fits your needs and what you do.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that really, dude, you made it like, it all depends. Again, like where I fish, I do fish grass, but I fish tidal rivers. Like that's River X is my jam. And guess what? Tidal rivers aren't chock full of grass. You know what I mean? Because it's fucking tidal. Like shit's gonna move. I know where those grass pads are at. I can position next to it. I don't need to slog through it. But having instant reverse is a huge point for me because I have to fight the current. I have to, you know what I mean? But you're 100%. And I think even back how well you remember that first kayak. Like it doesn't matter what you guys get. Like get on the fucking water. Like I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, and as somebody that came from fishing and got into the kayak world, I didn't want to get into a Sun Dolphin because I had done the reviews and I knew right away that wasn't what I wanted. That that wasn't what I wanted to get.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the extra money to get what I got, and it worked well for me, even though I wasn't bass fishing.
Right.
And it worked well for bass fishing, but it is still a paddle. And, I come from being in troll. Yeah.
Yeah.
I come from being, even in my poorest days, as in the South, we say in our poest days.
Poest.
I was still in a John boat with a fucking trolling motor.
Correct.
So
I think there's something to be said for how kayak fishing has evolved. There are some cheaper boats now. You can get I think the cheapest one I've seen is, I think it's called the Brooklyn Kayak Company. They run $1,000 pedal drive, and it's the old Hobie drive. Not a lot of features, but it'll get you out there paddling. I think a lot of people are moving that way, and I think those are good.
Yeah.
I think whatever gets you out there and moving, I agree. I think the difference between paddle and pedal is huge. I know a lot of people argue about it. If you guys want to go to the far superior, less internationally known podcast, Jigs and Bigs, they're not international. Listen, I looked at my statistics. I'm huge in Lithuania. They just don't have the pull that I do. But
South Carolina gets hold of this podcast.
Woo! But they're about ready to have a big discussion when it comes to like pedal, and I think we're going to do a whole roundtable on it because it's a huge, hot topic on if it makes you a better fisherman, if it doesn't. Like, I'm on the side that I think that it's a game changer when you get pedals. You can move to spots, you can position better, you can concentrate more on fishing and less on staying in one fucking spot. Like, even just one direction. Like, I remember I had an Ascend 10T. And it was a great boat. I had it for 4 years before I upgraded to the Old Town. I love that boat, but I'm going to tell you what, 3 miles an hour of wind, I'm spinning like I'm at the carnival and I had to have an anchor. I don't even have an anchor now, like, because I don't need it in my eyes. Like, there's some times where I need it, but for the most part, I can position myself and keep myself there with the pedals. So I think there's something to be said that pedals have upped the game to where if you want to take fishing, and whether you're doing it tournament wise or you just want to be as efficient as possible, I think pedals are the way to go. I think I've leaned myself more to telling people to save money. Like, if you got to save money for it, like, save money for it and wait a little bit if you can. And it's easier because I'm not in the Cadillac of boats, right? I can tell them to save $2,200. You got to, a Hobie costs what, like, give or take 13, 14,000. Is that where we're at now for a Hobie?
Bitch,
no, I'm just joking, man. I'm joking.
I bought my shit used.
Oh yeah. Used market's good though. Used market for PA 14s is a good deal.
And look, I bought mine used, and I passed up a bunch of kayaks because I knew what I wanted. I knew it was going to come around. I'm an impatient motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I fish, I'm impatient. I will cover in a pedal kayak. I will cover 12 to 15 miles in a tournament.
Right.
I'm impatient as fuck. But anyway, I got this, and it came up. The guy, I was on all the websites and all the YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The guy came up, posted it for sale. It was a guy that had bought it to take it out to the coast of North Carolina and be able to fish. And he bought it in 2019. He took that bitch out to the coast one time from his beach house with the wheels. He rolled it out there. He got in the surf. He stayed out there like 20 minutes, got that bitch back, hauled it back. This guy's in his 60s, right?
Yeah.
Hauled it back. Couldn't, none of his kids or anybody wanted to go kayak with him. So he hauled that shit back over here to Mount Airy, North Carolina. And he sat on it for a year, and he finally was like, sold it. So I went and bought it. And
dude, that's a deal then. That's a deal then.
It had nothing. There wasn't no. There was a little bit of scratch on it from him turning it up, put the wheels on it.
Yeah.
Little bit of sea scratch on the bottom. Yeah. And I asked him why he sold it. He's like, well, I bought it to go fishing, blah, blah, blah. Ain't nobody want to go with me. I ain't feel safe out there. And it was a pain in the ass to haul it from the house to the beach.
That's a big boat. Yeah, absolutely is a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah, motherfucker's big. And so I got it.
Do you have a truck? Do you roll that thing in a truck or a trailer?
Yep. I got a F-150 crew cab. It's a 5.5 foot bed. It's a PA-14. I put it in the bed, and the guy gave me, if you go to the kayak shops, they got 2x4 racks.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 2x4 racks, they have the little pads that the kayak sit on.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, this is how little the boat was used. He had the padding that they gave him when he bought it. So, I put the padding on the front handle that goes into the back of the bed. So it's secure, because when you ratchet it down, it's secure because it's got the little padding to go up against.
Right.
And I haul it, no T-bar, no shit like that.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me on why I didn't go with something bigger, because I have an SUV, so I have to car top mine. And the top water is still like 70, I think it's 78 pounds without the drive, like totally bone, nothing. It's 78 pounds. So.
And you got the 10 or the 12?
I had the 12.
Oh shit! So that's lighter than I thought it would be. I thought 12 would be up closer to 100. Yeah.
No. Once you get up, that's going to be your Predator series for Old Town. Now it's called the Big Water. Yeah, those ones get up to 100. So the top water is supposed to be lighter.
Yeah. So the Predators are the same weight as the Hobie.
Absolutely. They are a direct competitor. They're only like $500 less. Like, that's Old Town's direct competition with the Hobie is the PA-14 to the Predator. Now, Big Water. Well, they get up to 14 foot too. So there's a Big Water 14.
Yeah. So, but I bought the Hobie. So what it came down to me, and I researched all these a lot, especially spending that money. It came down to the fin system.
Right.
Because I like the farm ponds that I would be fishing are in the grass. I like shallow water fishing, all that stuff. So it fit what I wanted. And it is more efficient. That drive system is more efficient. And coming from where I come from as a person and as an athlete, like when I paddled with a paddle, buddies would go fishing with me. I would take buddies because when we put in the Savannah River, we would paddle up to the rapids.
Right.
And it wasn't a bad paddle till you got to the rapids, and then it was rapids. And now you could get in some places, you could walk it up. It was a lot of work, but typically you'd want to go in the water that was deep enough to paddle. More efficient. I would have people go with me on that shit. Like, I called it at the time that I was making these posts on Instagram back in 2018 or whenever it was. I called it paddle like hell. Hashtag paddle like hell.
I like it.
And so I would get up there and paddle, and the buddies that would go with me would be fucking half a mile down the fucking river. And I would paddle back to them and then paddle back up. And, so it's the same thing with the Hobie. There's a buddy of mine. I say a buddy. He's a guy that fishes here locally in North Carolina, Justin Faircloth. He's actually fishing down in Possum Kingdom now.
I'm about to say, I think I just saw his name. Yeah. He's like top 30, right now?
Yeah. At one point this morning, he was at like 60-something inches and in first place earlier this morning.
That. Wow. I saw that. Faircloth's a very, he's a big name.
He's a good angler. He's from this area. He's a good angler. So I haven't been competitively kayak fishing until this year. And we were lucky here in this North Carolina area. We got 2 different leagues, clubs, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And so the second time I fished with Justin, we're in this lake and we go like, look, I might not be first when it comes into length in, weigh in, but I'm gonna be motherfucking first out the damn and
you're winning the blast off.
There ain't nobody with a motor or a pedal kayak or a paddle kayak that's going to keep up with me. Now, I know I think Greg Blanchard's got one that was just 6.5 miles an hour.
But, I was going to say, So you say that, and you do the tournament deal, right? I don't. I'd love to do tournaments. Maybe in my future. I personally can't do the month-long tournament things. Like, I don't have the attention span. I want to do the, like, hey, we're fishing this day. Everybody's here. We're at this body of water, right?
23, we're done. Yeah,
exactly. That, like, the month-long, like, and for me, because I do the YouTube videos and everything else, like, it ruins.
Oh.
Like I got to worry about, like, I already have to worry about, like, putting on a dog and pony show to try to be YouTube famous, like the Guggen douches. You know what I mean? And now I've got to, like, try to compete too. It doesn't work for me. But you mentioned something interesting. So I know this is, for me, I'm very conflicted on this. So I know that, like, KBF and some other trail series they're super lenient on this motor rule. What is your take on this kayak motor rule?
I think that, so, you hear a lot about in the kayak world here recently about them, like, all these leagues need to get together and have a certain measurement standard and these standards and this and that. And I don't, that's not going to happen. That's why MLF is here versus CAS, right? So,
but wouldn't you say the measurement standard in kayak fishing has been established, right? Like, they've kind of dropped the hog trough.
Well, yeah. But what I'm leading to is the motor versus non-motor.
Okay, sorry.
Right. And so we've got three main kayak tournament series, BASS, and they're main because it's bass.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, the game long, but it's fucking bass.
Yep, absolutely.
KBF, which is the OG.
Yep.
And then we have Hobie.
Hobie BOS, yep.
Right? So Hobie has the non-motor side of it, and I think they do that a lot because it separates them from that KBF side that allows everything. So for me, when it comes down to the motors, is there an advantage? Yes, and the advantage isn't getting from A to B. It's getting there quick. Right now, most motors are 3.5, 4 miles an hour.
Right.
Somewhere in there. Well, I can average in my loaded ass, big ass PA. I can go 4 miles at 4.5 miles an hour.
Right.
Now, just recently, in the last couple months, I've heard of some trolling motors on kayaks getting those folks at 5.5, 6 miles an hour.
That's the Greg Blanchard. He's rocking that super light Slayer that I forgot who makes Slayer. I think it's Wilderness. But that super light Slayer with that full bore torpedo on it.
So that's where you get into a from point A to point B. But what the motor does is it gives those people with a motor an advantage on covering water and being able to run farther. So let's say their motor gives out halfway through the day, but they were able to run 10 miles and only have to pedal or paddle back 3 miles, where I'm not going to make that kind of run because I know I'm not going to make it. So I would say this is that.
Well, I'm going to blow it up even more before you answer. So, because I am an Old Town fanboy, Old Town has a spot lock. No other kayak has that. I mean, that gives a direct advantage, and where now you don't have to worry about anchoring systems or anything like that. You load 2 lithium batteries in that thing, which it comes stock with one. Now you've got a full Minn Kota spot lock where it ain't moving. Like, you can fish in current. You can sit offshore and fish in one spot, because I feel like like the spot lock, I feel like, in engines or motors in general open up deep offshore cranking, which is something that not a lot of people do in a kayak, because just that general movement is going to move you off the spot, right? Like, you deep cranking at 20 feet or whatever is going to move you off the spot. But competitively, if you've got spot lock, I feel like that is a game changer.
It does. And again, that's where I think that the kayak world comes into it, and at some point evolves into when we think about major.
Sure.
Right now we got 3 major trails.
Right.
It's going to go into two, and this is, and so one's going to have motors, one's is not.
Right. Pedal and paddle in one, and motors in the other one.
Manual mobility versus motor. But the Hobie 360 is a spotlight. It's a manual spotlight, but you can do very similar, the same thing. Now you
can do it, but you have to pedal. You have to coordinate yourself. Old Town cheats to where you have a remote. You click and you say, I don't want to move.
That's just great. But
I think it's awesome, but I personally don't think that should be in tournaments at all. Me personally, on my end of this, I think that there should be no motors at all on any of them. I think you should be manual power only, and there should be two divisions. There should be paddle, and there should be pedal. And I personally don't think for competitive fishing, motors for kayak should not be involved.
The sport's not big enough to separate that individually yet.
I agree.
It could get to that point, sure. It could get to that point. It's not big enough to separate non-motor. But what you're going to end up having is you're going to have the what we have now in the professional bass series, where you have bass and you have MLF. They're going to have completely separate rules. They're not going to work together. They're going to be competition, and you get to choose. And that's the big thing. Is like Derek Brundle, for instance. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, he doesn't fish Hobie BOS.
Right, he doesn't. Yeah,
and he fishes, his new canoe with the trolling motor and all that. So you have the choice. I think that's what it's going to come up down to, is you have the choice to fish, and it's going to be the same thing. Like there's no interaction between the two, which there's not between the three now. They're not integrated in their tournament of champions or anything like that. No separate entities, and you get to choose. But what's going to happen with especially with the ones that allow those motors, is this going to take that bass where they start to put a thrust limit. It's going to, when you have the motor, it's going to be 55-pound thrust. Like that's what we're going to get to. But there's not enough money involved. There's not enough publicity. You're going to have
So where I'm worried about, you're right on all of that. Here's where I'm worried about, and you're talking about there's not enough money, there's not enough publicity, that the sport needs to grow more. Here's what I'm worried is that when you have this sport has been grown by your weekend angler, your weekend warrior has grown kayak bass fishing to a huge level to where it's at, where nobody thought it was going to get this high. When you start putting that barrier of entry to where $4,000 is the barrier of entry, right? Because that's the cheapest motor kayak you could probably put together. If we're talking about new canoe, whatever, right? Like that's the cheapest you could probably do it. I think less people are going to be, I think a lot of people get into it for the manual propulsion idea, for the, everybody thinks they're going to get in for the simplicity of kayak fishing. But then once you get into it, you realize it is not simple. It's the most opposite. Like if you want simple fishing, get a John boat. Like that is literally way more simple.
Fishing, take your ass to the bank and fish ultralight.
Listen, kayak fishing, especially if you want to do it at a competitive level, is not simplistic at all.
Yeah, exactly. But what you're laying out is what bass fishing is now from a club level.
Right.
So your local clubs do not, for the most part, don't have horsepower regulations. You can have 300, you can have a 50. And so that's what you get is what you get.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between a horsepower, no horsepower regulation, and a John boat series, right? Or your local bass club, right? There's a big difference between that and a new canoe strapped with a 15 horsepower engine or whatever they use, right? A Torpedo, whatever they use, and the paddle kayak that you started out with, right? There's a big difference between those two.
There is, but you can still, if you allow motors and somebody has a 300 horsepower motor on a damn Bumblebee, And then the Jimmy Jack over here has a 40 horsepower on a flat bottom John boat. They can fish the same tournament. I mean, that's
but there's a competitive. Listen, I think we need to have you in when Biggs and Jigs has this conversation as well, because I feel like there's a distinct disadvantage between somebody with a pedal or paddle to somebody with a motor. But I think there's a huge disadvantage.
But this is what we're talking about, though, is that Bass and MLF, how many people are competing in those tournaments?
Sure, a lot.
Right.
Well,
right. How many people are competing in the local tournaments that have a 300 horsepower, and then the same guy next to him is competing with a 40 horsepower on a flat bottom John boat?
Sure.
So what we get, we're not in the kayak world. We don't have that discrepancy between the quote unquote elites,
right,
and our local fishermen.
I mean, they're all open series basically,
right?
Like
exactly.
But I think because it's such a grassroots community,
yes,
that when you start showing that you can't compete unless you're up here, equipment wise.
Yep.
While the only way it's going to grow is if everybody down here competes. Like you're not going to grow unless everybody, the 30 to 40-year-old old dudes jump in their bullshit kayaks and get out there. That's what is actually going to grow the sport, not a dude in a new canoe with a full-on Minn Kota, or not a new canoe. I don't mean to shit on them. I mean, I think they're shitty boats, but they can suck it. Good thing I'm not sponsored by anybody. Like even the Old Town, I love Old Town. I'm not sponsored by them either. I love Old Town, but some dude straps into an Old Town. It's almost a $5,000 boat with a spot lock. That's way different than even another Old Town boat that only paddles. There's that. It just throws me the wrong way.
Yeah. But we have a path to follow, or not to follow, but to look at with bass fishing.
No, but we don't want to follow that path. No, we don't want to follow that path because how much does it cost to be a professional bass fisherman?
Fishing is a grassroots thing that evolved into what it is now.
Right, but if we keep going where we're going, we're going to turn into how BASS is now, where you have to be a multi-millionaire to even get into the game.
Well, that's where it's going to go. Because if you want, so this is the thing. Everybody wants the sport to grow.
Right.
But when you want it to grow, and when you get, like, everybody is so excited about this first ever Bassmaster Kayak Championship Series, right? Yep. But when you get into that, when you get to where you're fishing for $50, $70, $100,000, the fucking average Joe Blow with the Avalon 120 and a paddle
is not going to compete.
He ain't. Not only is he not going to be able to compete, he ain't going to pay to go compete.
Right.
So that's what we're going to get. The kayak, if the sport, and it is, and it will, continues to grow, you're going to have an elite series. You're going to have, the opens are going to be no more. Right. You're going to have the elite series. You're going to you have to qualify to be a part of this. It's going to be $1,000, $1,200. But that's the thing is people want to fish for that kind of money. They want the kayak world to be a $50,000, $100,000.
I get that. No, I get that. I get the prize, the entry fees. I see those escalating. What I don't get and what I don't want to happen to kayak fishing, and I don't even tournament fish. I don't even know why I'm so invested, but I don't want it. What I don't want it to get to where you have to have now to compete. God, what's his name? I forgot his name. But I don't want for you to be able to compete to bass fish to turn into what it is right now with bass and MLF, where you have to have 100+ K to get in because of the boat.
If it's going to grow, if it's going to grow the way that when people say they want it to grow, that's what they want, the pots to be big.
Right.
It is going to create that line of people that can compete for the fees and with
boat,
the tools and the boat and everything that goes with it. And then you're going to have the grassroots local clubs that are there for the rest of us. Right now, it's all intermingled. Right now, you have people fishing for $20,000 in
right?
in the Bassmaster Classic right now that are paddling their fucking kayaks.
It's insane. It's insane.
There's probably some in sit-in paddle kayaks that are 8 years old. But you're not going to, if the sport continues to grow, you're not going to see that. You're going to see every single person is going to have a trolling motor. Every single person
that kills it, right? But doesn't that kill the sport itself, which is supposed to be skinny water, I guess?
Do you want it to grow or not? I mean, that's the thing is everybody wants it to grow. Why do they want it to grow? The competitive fishermen want it to grow. Excuse me. The competitive fishers want it to grow.
Fishers, we got to bring it back to fishers.
So they can make it, so they can get sponsors, so they can win money. And for it to grow to that point, it becomes an elite series. Yeah. The open series dies. Bass Pro still has the open series, but
all of them do, right? BAS has open, MLF has open.
Yeah, but those opens, the people that are fishing those opens are fishing to get into the MLF to get
right. But for them to even fish those opens, it's tens of thousands of dollars in equipment to do it.
Oh yeah. So here's one of the things with kayaks is you still the cost to entry. Let's just say that we get to that MLF, blah blah blah. The cost of entry is still going to be lower. You're not going to be. You don't have to have a $50,000 boat. You don't have to have an $80,000 boat and all the trucks and shit. I mean, you're going to need when it gets to that point, they are going to have stipulations. Like, I hope Hobie continues.
I do too. I actually think Hobie's doing it right on their series. Yes.
Yeah, and I think so. And I think that they have the right.
And I hate to say that.
But I think, see, that's what I think is if Hobie continues with the manually powered. Yeah. And now when money gets involved 2 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, that could change.
I don't think so, because I think Hobie has zero. Yeah,
but they're directly.
They don't want to go into that game because they're the standard. They're the OG standard.
Right, but they're competing with Bass, and Bass has everything.
That's true. That's true.
So
it'd be interesting to see what happens in a couple of years because you're right. Bass has everything, right? But Hobie also has the gold standard when it comes to kayak fishing and pedal kayaks, right? They are the first. They've done it the longest. They're the most established.
Behind KBF, we can't throw KBF out.
I think KBF's dying, so.
But that's what I'm saying is I think that there's, but that's the thing is when you look at national power, you have Hobie and you have Bass, and you're right. But this is again where it wasn't. See, I've been out the fishing game long enough that MLF. I was out the fishing game when MLF started.
Showed up, yeah.
So I'm like trying to catch up on what the fuck MLF is.
Yeah.
But they stepped out from that FLW game,
they did, but they actually rolled it back in. If you look at what they did last year, where they rolled, so they acquired FLW, right? Mm-hmm. And they said, first they did MLF, and they said, hey, this is the only way to do it is this all fish count level, and they did that 1 year, and they had a 1 pound limit, and it was a dink fest, what's his name? Wheeler just destroyed. Jacob Wheeler destroyed by catching 9 million 1 pound fish in a tournament, which I don't think is entertaining. And some people do. It's whatever. And then the next year they rolled in and they upped the limit. They decided to change the limit per lake. I thought that was a great choice. Right. Yeah. It was a phenomenal choice. But then they bought FLW and they did all this advertising about how the every fish counts. We're going to weigh and release is so much safer for the fish. But then they run their FLW after they bought FLW, rebranded it to to the Toyota series, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a catch. It's still big as 5.
But when
it's still big as 5. So, but you said that it was so environmentally,
But
it's so
what's so-
environmentally upsetting.
what's
But
so
then you have more tournaments
Yeah.
with this Toyota series, so they kind of threw me off at that.
You got to understand, for them to do the catch and release, the catch,
Yeah.
weigh, and release, you have to have. They ain't doing that shit at the regional level. Like you have to.
No, but they could, but people
Yeah.
weren't into it.
Yeah,
Like they have the scales they
right.
can put into it. Here's the thing: I will say, them switching to the 2-pound limit and then making it vary. Yeah, they make it vary. I actually like it now more because you're not having Jacob Wheeler, who is an amazing angler. I don't mean to shit on him. I'm not. He's not going to hear this again. It's Bass and Brews. Nobody hears this.
Ain't nobody listening.
Right, exactly. I looked on Anchor. There's 22 motherfuckers that watch this, and I love all of you. But there's 22, and I appreciate every single one of you.
What motherfucker? You gonna get 25 from me tonight? You gonna get 2 extra?
But like Jacob Wheeler, he's a great fisherman, but he gamed the system and he caught a shit ton of 1-pounders, which I watched that shit live because all the big names went over there, and I was like, "This is great. I like all these guys." And then I'm like, "Oh, sweet, you're catching dinks. Like maybe I could be an MLF because, oh shucks, he's catching 1-pounders for days."
That's a whole different topic about
it is. And you know what? I think that's an excellent topic that we got to talk about. I think
regular ass people talking about I could fish. You see that a lot here in my area when the pros come over here and they catch their fish at Jordan Falls and Harris, and then you get all these local, Facebook fucking warriors going, "Oh my God, I could compete with these motherfuckers." Let me tell you something. I played college football at Division I level, and the steps from high school football to Division I football are fucking huge.
Yep.
Huge. Yep. The best players on football, high school football teams never make it in college. And
even a step further, the college to the pros.
And then you take from the college to the pros.
Yeah.
And you're talking about going from playing football to being a business, and you are playing against grown ass fucking men. These motherfuckers, they do not care because this is their livelihood. This is their paycheck. This is their kids' food. This is what puts food on their table. The mentality, what people don't get, you can catch fucking fish. Anybody can go out there and catch fish. When you get in a competitive situation where you paying the bills versus you not paying the bills is on the table, your mentality has to change. This is what people don't get about professional athletes and fishers, anglers are professional fucking athletes. There's a mental game to what they do that the average angler, the above average angler cannot achieve.
100%.
It has nothing to do with your casting ability. It has nothing to do with you.
No, it's all a mental game. Making the right decision at the right time under high stress.
Go watch fucking Jacob Wheeler. He posts videos that you watch how he fishes. Watch
he's good.
How he is focused. Watch what he does. Watch how, and we don't even get to see the little things that he does. We don't see the shit that he has prepared. His plan. We don't get to see that. But watch just how he fishes.
Yep.
The average weekend warrior angler, the damn club angler, ain't going out there with that fucking mentality. The weekend, I mean, it's a whole it is the mental game for professional sports that people don't have. Right. And so it's the same thing with kayak angling, right? I mean, you have Russ Snyder's ain't winning every tournament, but he's competitive in every.
Oh no, but he's probably our KVD, right? For he's up there with it, right? I mean, he's on another level. He's on a next level from the normal kayak angler that's out there.
He's got and it's not just his knowledge, it's not his ability. It's the mental game. Look at Christine Fisher over the last 3 years, right?
Yes,
Like,
killing it.
Mental. We see her ability. We could see her ability 3 years ago.
Yep.
But the difference between now and 3 years ago is we see that mental game of hers where she is fucking dialed in. Greg Blanchard, matter of fact, is one of these. He's one of these guys that is so laid back, dialed in. Like, he's just easy to follow. He instructs.
Yep.
But the dude is dialed fucking in. Watch him fish. He gets to a grass bed and he throws a jig.
Dude, I love watching him fish either Great Lakes or the Delta. Like, watching him fish those two fisheries, they're completely different, but it's such a fucking clinic on both those fisheries from a kayak. It's so amazing.
Yeah, and when so the whole thing, when you
Yeah.
get into this professional fishing standpoint,
Right.
I don't care if you can throw a fucking bait 150 yards in a 5-gallon bucket every time you throw it. You know what? That's the simplest fucking thing in fishing is casting.
Mm-hmm.
How is your mental game? How are you when you're not catching fish? How are you adjusting? What are you doing? Where are you thinking? Where's your mind? Like, that's where the greatest athletes of all time separate themselves is the mental game. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes ever, that was what he did. He created situations for him to compete that didn't even exist.
Yeah.
Like, I love to fish. I love to bass fish. I hate just fucking fishing for fun.
Right.
I hate it. I don't want to fish for fun. I grew up an athlete. I'm an athlete. I want to compete. Like, I need some kind of competitive atmosphere in my life. I compete with my wife on all kinds of shit, and she's better than I am at all of them. But I'm damn sure try to beat her. But, like, I fish to compete. Like, I don't fish to be top 5, top 3. Like, I just started fishing these local tournaments. I just got into kayak fishing, just got back into competitive fishing. I fucking fish to win.
Right.
Like, if my goal is to be top 5 in AOI,
right.
If I win every fucking tournament, I'm going to be top 5. Like, my goal is to win. I fish to compete to win. So when you look at it, and we can take this back to going to the, competitive, the motors versus not. It's going to end up being, in the kayak world, it's going to end up being, I think, the Hobie BOS, manually powered. I hope it's going to be this. I think it will. Versus, BASS, KBF, whatever it is, in the powered side. And I think that you're going to have, just like you have now, you're going to have people go back and forth, and to the point that the money comes into play that they have to choose. And then we're going to have that push and pull of what fits people's, like, some people fish MLF way better because they're better at catching a lot of fish versus 5 ones. That's why
I think you're totally right on that.
Yeah. I
think you're right on that split. I think Hobie's going to take that manual, and I do think BASS is going to take that. And as much as I like them, but I think Old Town's, and if you look, Old Town's more sponsored with them more than the other series. I think that's going to be the split that's going to happen.
But what comes into play, which one or both survive, is the money that's going into each one.
Exactly.
Both of them might not survive because of, if it gets to that point that there are TV rights involved and marketing rights and all this and that. One, in my opinion, is going to survive and one's not. And it's going to be the one that creates the most excitement with the people that want to watch it. I don't think kayak fishing gets to that point. I don't think it gets to the
I don't either.
MLF point. I think right now, partly because of COVID and the cost to enter, it's not at the peak right now. We're getting there. But I think over the next 5 years, it starts to go down. I think you're going to see clubs go down from, these big clubs go down from 120 anglers and 70 anglers. They're going to go to 70 and 30 again. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see these local clubs. Jesus, go online right now and look at some of the kayaks for sale.
It's a huge supply and demand problem right now.
Right. People are selling kayaks left and right. So I think that in the next 5 years, we're going to get down to the levels we were 2 years ago.
It'll even out.
You're going to have a professional series that pays money strictly because of sponsorship, not the TV, not radio, not social media, strictly because of sponsorship opportunities. You're going to have Berkeley sponsoring Russ.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have
elite
series with 20 or 30 people. It's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are right now, I think, is the apex.
Okay, I can see that
from the local side.
Right.
I think that's going to. I think we're at the apex and it's going to go down, and we're going to be like pretty much what BASS was in the 90s. You're going to have a strong local feeder system that kicks out some good anglers,
right?
Go into
up to the elites, and I think that's actually where it needs to be. I think that's where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's saturated now. I mean,
it is
super saturated. You have people. You said you've been fishing 6 years now? I think you said
bass fishing since 2016. So actually, only 5 years. Close enough. Yeah.
Almost 7 years.
5 years. Yep.
Right. So then you've got folks. The guy I'm having a brain fart, and the guy you had on your first ever episode.
Ramon Outdoors. Big props.
Ramon.
Yeah.
Ramon.
He just started.
Right. So you have these people.
Yep.
That just started fishing a year ago, entering in kayak tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
They're
not elite level. That's not what the market's built for. Yeah,
it could be, but do they fish more than a season or two? Probably not.
Probably not. You're right. Yeah, most people quit out.
But you have these bass boat guys, Jody Queen, Corey Dreyer, who's back in a bass boat.
Yeah,
some of these others
disappointing
that come into the kayak world who are fucking, sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
These motherfuckers know how to fish.
Yep.
Now they're fishing against this motherfucker that started last week.
You're right. It definitely skews the market or the competition on it.
Right. So I think you end up the cost of entry is a way to get a lot of people involved, so that a few people can take their money.
Yeah.
And that's just going to even out. We can see that now. We see so many kayaks for sale right now. Kayaks that are a year old right now for sale that people paid $6,000 for that are selling for $4,000.
Right.
So there's an apex that's coming down. The kayak fishing world is going to be a competitive and professional sport soon.
I think so. Yeah.
There's going to be a small pool of people that are in there.
Right.
And it goes back to the motor side. Who wins? Does Hobie win, or does Bass with the motor?
I think that's I think it's something to wait and kind of watch for, to see which one draws more market, and you're right, more sponsorship, more dollars.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to viewers. Which one's more exciting? Right.
I think as a whole, both of those sides have done a piss poor job in viewing the product. We got to rely on our favorite anglers' YouTube channels to see the coverage of it.
But it's hard because it's so new, and it's
No, I get that. It's new, and we do rely, and I think those creators that put stuff out are awesome. Those folks that are in the tournaments and they can still put out the Christine Fisher, Greg Blanchard, those two specifically. For me personally, I watch a ton of both of them, both for different reasons. Christine's very much cut and dry. This is my tournament. I'm not doing a lot of fancy shit, right? I'm going to go out. Greg Blanchard does, for me, everything that I'd love my channel to turn into sometime. He's got way too much B-roll, which I enjoy immensely. He's got wonderful music. He's got bullshitting around a campfire, and then he's got killer fishing. Like, that's what I'd love my channel to be.
See,
but
but that's the thing, is that's where some of the bass people are right now, is that your successful people from a money standpoint are the ones creating content.
Yes.
Not
you have the new generation showing, and a lot of older generation learning that it's not just, especially during COVID, it's not just your tournaments that are going to drive your sponsorship sales. It's going to be your YouTube. It's going to be your Instagram. It's going to be your other social media outlets. I think Brandon Polinick is a huge one. That guy, his YouTube channel is amazing, and it's blown up huge. And I fully believe that it's led to bigger contracts that he's gotten to allow him to leave MLF and go to Bassmaster with very little pain on his end.
Yeah, and so that's a lot. That's what it come in, because when you get sponsorship money, like their question is, who's going to see your shit, right?
Yep.
You're in a sponsorship game from a podcast standpoint.
Yeah.
I have a sponsor, a local landscaping lighting company, Outdoor Lighting Pros, who sponsored me. They gave me money, and I put them on. I've made enough content that I can pretty much post daily.
Yep.
And put them on at least 3 posts a week, and now I like and share their shit. They're a client of ours. He's a friend of mine. They do great work. I believe in their shit. But when it comes down to it, like, his first question was, how many followers do you have on Instagram? I'm like, at the point in time he asked me, I was like, I'm like 680.
Yeah.
He goes, oh shit, that's a lot. To him, that was a lot. I'm like, oh, sweet. Hell yeah, I got 680. Well, now I'm almost, I don't know what the fuck I'm at, like 760 or something.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, look, dude, I've had a couple people reach out to me for your contact information from my posts.
Yep.
I've had people ask me. But, in that time, that since he sponsored me, I've grown, my channel's grown by almost 100 people. And so, but what that leads to is when you have a Christine Fisher that's got how many over 1,000.
Yep.
Like, that is what people want to give you money for, because the
Yes.
whole purpose for giving you money is to sell their shit.
Yes.
That's it. They give you money
100%.
to sell shit.
Yep.
Like Hookset Hoodlum.
Yep.
I would love to be a part of that. But I'd be a part of that because of they like, well, Paul can put my shit out there and sell me shit. And so that's what it comes down to. I mean,
well, I will say, I'm going to argue with it. Okay, and it's going to sound super cheesy because I'm wearing the shirt. I am a member. That is not what they're actually about. That's what makes them great. Yeah. So if you look at the dudes that are on pro staff, like, you've got dudes that are anywhere from like 200 followers to up to 5,000. Like, it's a huge range. It's a movement. All right. So I've got to play headmaster here, and we got to do a timeout. And by timeout, I mean we're going to have to do another episode, man. We're at an hour and a half. Like, to keep these at a certain length, dude, we're going to have to do this again. I didn't even get to any of my questions.
Let's keep going. We can break that shit up.
I can't, brother. I got shit to do today, too. So
today, we on that same East Coast time frame, which is awesome. Your day is fucking over.
No, so we're gonna have to schedule another time, Paul. It's been great having you on, but you're not gonna get off without some rapid fire. Are you ready?
I've been practicing.
All right. First one's gonna be instant pass or fail because we've covered it earlier. Is it pork roll or is it Taylor ham?
I'll call it pork roll.
There you go. That's the right answer.
But
all right,
I will use Taylor ham because some people don't fucking understand pork roll.
Listen, they don't matter. Is it Krispy Kreme? What's better, Krispy Kreme or Dunkin'?
Oh my God, fucking Dunkin' Donuts can suck my sweaty balls. It is deep fried, motherfucker. How do you take deep fried over baked? Nobody in the right fucking mind takes deep fried over baked.
And sir, do you know where Krispy Kreme is from?
North Carolina.
I got some more for you here. Let's see if you get them. Are you fishing shallow or are you fishing deep?
Both.
Both, depending on the season.
So let's take summertime, for instance. Right now, I'm throwing a regular to a super fluke in the mornings until that sun comes over the trees. And then I'm taking my ass down to 15 to 40 feet.
Gotcha.
Which sucks.
It sucks. It sucks in a kayak. Coke versus Pepsi.
Oh, my motherfucking Pepsi Cola. It ain't Pepsi. It's Pepsi Cola. When you grow up with a grandpa from South Carolina, it ain't Pepsi. It's Pepsi Cola. You order Pepsi Cola.
Where's Pepsi from? Do you know?
North Carolina.
It's from North Carolina. I put two in there. Before we go any farther, real quick, what the fuck is up with a North Carolina style hot dog? Do you know what this is? So I Googled today because I'm a professional.
Slaw and hot dog.
What? It's slaw, chili, and onion and a hot dog?
Yeah. But look,
dude, real quick, even before we get to the last question, you're gonna make Sandwich Saturday with some bullshit fucking Carolina style hot dog.
Stop with the sandwiches now because I got my fucking sandwich answer.
Oh, I got you on that one. All right.
Hold on with the hot dog because you asked about the fucking hot dog. Look, in the South, when you order hot dog on your chili, there bet not be no fucking beans in that chili.
I saw that. What the fuck?
Yes. Look, here's
what. This is why you lost. You didn't have any beans on your chili.
Look, y'all stole all them motherfucking beans. Get them shits up there so y'all can have. Here's the thing: in the South, when you ask, "I want a bowl of chili," you're gonna get beans, meat, and some shit in a bowl to eat. When you order a hot dog and you say, "I want chili," this same restaurant could have chili with beans that you get in a bowl. But when you order a hot dog with chili on it, they got a whole nother chili that ain't got beans in.
I saw it. It looks like weird ketchup-based meat sauce. It looks fucking disgusting. And you guys should be ashamed of yourself.
Chili without the bean. Who the fuck wants a bean with their hot dog?
Who the fuck want chili on their hot dog?
Well, if you have it without beans, anybody with any sense.
No, I'm calling bullshit on your whole fucking slaw, onion, and chili. I'm calling bullshit on all of it. Moving on. Barbecue or grilling?
I'm a barbecue connoisseur. I can cook you your hot dogs, your hamburgers, your pulled pork, your brisket. You come on down here now. Bring your children, bring your wife. Y'all come on down. We'll do a live podcast in the garage over here.
I love it.
A little teeny thing. We'll do that shit and we'll cook. So go ahead.
Barbecue versus grilling.
Oh my God.
I think this is one of the main reasons we almost started talking. Because I was like, oh shit, there is a difference. Which one's better?
If you invite me to a fucking barbecue, I'm showing up expecting beef and pork on a fucking grill.
No, you mean beef hamburger and a pork hot dog, right?
No, not even remotely fucking close. Like you invite me, Paul Roberts. This happened my freshman year of college in North Carolina. Like I grew up in South Carolina. It's North Carolina. It's like, hey, Paul, you want to go to a barbecue? I'm like, fuck yeah, hell yeah, I want to go to a barbecue. We're going to drink beer and eat pig. Have a good time. I show up. They ain't got no beer. And they got a tabletop grill the size of this fucking helmet on a cooking hot dogs and hamburgers. And I'm like, where the fuck's the barbecue? Like, this right here. I'm like, this is grilling. So when you grill, you cook hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken wings. Barbecue ain't a verb. Barbecue is a noun. Barbecue is shit that you eat. You invite me to a barbecue, I expect meat that's been cooked more than 8 hours. I can cook and eat. Now, if you want me to come eat hamburgers and hot dogs and steak and chicken wings, I love all of that shit. But you tell me.
But don't call it barbecue.
No, we grilling. I got a big green egg, so I can grill and smoke. But we don't barbecue. I have never in my life barbecued. I have cooked barbecue. I ain't never barbecued because that shit ain't a verb. You can't barbecue.
It's a pronoun, not a verb, right?
You eat it, you cook it. Damn it. God damn, you you done got me all riled the fuck up.
Got them all hot and bothered. All right. In a 3-hour trip.
Now.
In a 3-hour trip, 1 7-pounder or 5 2-pounders?
Fucking 7-pounder all day long because fuck 2-pounders. I can catch them bitches all day long.
Love it. And the second to most important question ever, Guggen Squad versus Hookset.
Well, Hookset, because I love you guys.
I'm about to say you better fucking answer right.
Yeah, you ain't asked me about my damn sandwich. About my sandwich meat.
Oh, no. I said the second most important question.
Okay.
First most important. The only reason we're huge in Lithuania is because let me hear your top 3 sandwich proteins. Let's hear it. Because if you guys are listening and you don't follow me on Instagram, you should fucking follow me, because on Saturdays, I've just started Sandwich Saturdays. We started off with a doozy with liverwurst. It was fucking disgusting, and I almost threw up into my mouth. But I'm going to be eating. It was fucking gross. It was gross.
Did you fry it or did you eat it cold?
It was cold because he told me to eat it cold with mayonnaise and cheese. 2 pieces of liverwurst with mayonnaise and cheese on a bun. It was fucking gross.
Anybody that tells you to eat organ meat cold,
this was the Filipino cowboy who fly fishes. He said eat cold fucking liver meat, and I ate it.
He's fucking with you. Look, I grew up in the South, Bo. We ate lungs, liver, heart.
Dude, everybody up here said, no, that's how we eat it. Maybe you should have added onions. No, go fuck yourself. It was cat food on a fucking bun. This is the most swearing I've done all episode, and I'm really mad. But I recorded the whole thing where I almost vomited in my mouth. It was fucking disgusting. I showed it to my wife. She was like, what are you doing, you degenerate? Like, but
look,
top
dude,
3.
Top 3. In the South, we ain't stupid. Organ meat sucks.
Yes. Don't eat it. Don't eat it.
You eat that shit fried in a pan with some fucking loaf bread.
No, you just don't fucking eat it. It's real simple.
It's delicious. I will eat liver.
Oh, you just said it sucks. No, fuck off. You just said it sucks.
Ask me
listen, if you got to put lipstick on a pig, you shouldn't fuck that pig. All right?
I have eaten everything on a pig from the tutor to the pooter.
To the tutor to the pooter. All right, brother. What's your top 3 sandwich proteins? I hope it's tutor and pooter, because I'm going to have to eat it.
You know what the tutor is?
The snout. Okay.
And the pooter
is the asshole.
Right. And the tail goes past the asshole, and I've eaten the tail too. Look, you need to come down here. Let me cook you some of the organ meat. Let me cook it for you.
Listen, after Big Nasty, I'm really doubting the friends that I'm making online. I feel like you guys are setting me up for failure.
Look, but people in the South don't cook food for people not to eat.
You guys also eat chitlins, which is garbage. So,
have you ever had a chitlin?
I have, and it's fucking garbage.
You have it boiled or fried?
It was fried, and it was in Mississippi, and I literally rethought a large portion of my life because it was disgusting. I listen. I don't have a weak stomach. I will try anything.
It's like bacon. It's like chewy bacon.
Again, we're gonna have to do another episode because I feel like we really need to have a deep down discussion on you guys lost because you guys eat garbage food, and it's just the worst ever sometimes. All right, man. Top 3 sandwich proteins. Let's do it.
Well, real quick. Speaking of lost, is like people think that biscuits and gravy originated in the South.
No,
it did not.
They did not.
It is a Yankee food.
A north thing. It's like Maine, Vermont, Michigan. Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
And not a southern thing.
Same place Scrapple originated.
Scrapple's a Pennsylvania. That's an Amish thing where they just put a bunch of pig buttholes and then they put maple syrup on it, and it's garbage too.
It's not buttholes, it's brains, but
it's just it's garbage too. I've had that. It's a big thing here. My father-in-law eats it on a daily basis. And I also think that's a garbage food. That
I'm
really strongly opinionated on foods, and scrapple. A lot of Southern food is.
So what it sounds like in the South, what we would call you is you don't like po people food.
No, I like poor people food. I was poor, but I grew up in Washington, so that meant we had to have salmon.
Look, if you call it salmon, we don't call it salmon.
Oh, you guys call it salmon.
Salmon. I don't know how to pronounce it. Every time I say, my wife says, "Hey, what we cooking tonight? Go look in the fridge." And I'm like, "Oh, we have a salmon." She laughs.
Nope, it's salmon. Oh my God.
Salmon. So if you having salmon in the South, you're rich, motherfucker. Because
that's just poor people food.
That's red meat.
That's just poor people food. It's red meat. It's poor people food.
So my three sandwich meats are.
What you got, brother?
Bologna.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Before we go any further on bologna, is it like deli bologna, or is it like from that Oscar Mayer bullshit plastic container?
We ain't no. You got your boar's head.
Yeah.
Falutin bologna. Then you got Oscar Mayer bologna, and then you got po people bologna.
Are you talking about po people bologna?
Po people bologna it's chicken, beef, and pork. Like we ain't talk the good bologna is like beef.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all bologna's supposed to be.
Yeah, we talking about the tits and the clits.
That's got to be another quote. The tits and the clits. All right, so we're talking about tits and clits bologna. Okay.
Like this is potted meat in a flat form.
Oh, I've had potted meat. Potted meat's fucking disgusting.
Oh my God, you fucking suck, dude. You are an elitist.
Because I don't like potted meat.
Well, it's not just a potted meat. We've talked about all the good
goddamn stuff. Coastal elite and your non-potted meat. All right, what's number 2?
Your wife must be a damn doctor. She must earn at least $500,000 a year if you don't like damn potted meat.
Potted meat's fucking gross. What do you got for number 2? I'm so scared. If it's squirrel, I'm fucked.
Fried liver pudding.
Oh.
You ask? Look.
Oh, what the fuck is fried liver pudding?
I tell my wife, I tell all my friends, and I tell my business people.
I'm writing it down because
they come to me. And
I'm gonna have to fucking eat this, man. What is fried liver pudding?
How do you make friends with everybody? I'm like, I fucking talk. I talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm. But what the fuck is fried liver pudding?
Oh my God, you probably don't have nieces up there because it's too far north. But liver pudding is like liver mush, except it's more in a solid form.
So it's liverwurst.
No, not even. Ugh.
Is it spam?
Oh my God, no! Spam is like the tits and clits of bologna.
I love spam, but
dude, spam is delicious.
I spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and those motherfuckers know how to cook some spam.
Well, you don't even know how to cook it. It's delicious. People just have they have a.
Oh no, we make musubis at the house like twice a month. You know what a musubi is? It's like a spam sushi roll. So you do rice, you do spam, teriyaki sauce, rice, and then you wrap that bitch in seaweed.
Oh my God.
And then I can also make it where you make a rice scrambled egg mixture. So you can make a breakfast roll out of that bitch. So good. So
if you ever want to know how to cook spam and eggs,
I'm pretty good at it.
Really?
What
the fuck's his name that cusses all the time? I'm having a brain fart right now. The chef, Hill's Kitchen. Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay goes to Hawaii and cooks Hawaiian spam and eggs.
Yep.
Watch that episode if you want to cook. Well, first of all, if you want to learn how to cook scrambled eggs properly, watch that episode because he teaches it. Because most motherfuckers be burning their damn eggs.
No. So I learned how to cook spam and eggs from the boat. We had 2 cooks who were one was from Hawaii, one was from American Samoa on our boat. Oh my
God, y'all!
So every Sunday we would have spam and eggs every day underway, or every Sunday underway. I love it. I use it all the time and shit. My kids love it. Like I've been really hoping for somebody to put fucking spam on this goddamn list so I can enjoy it. What's number 3?
Spam. Look, liver. I say
you got fried liver pudding. Number 2.
Liver pudding. You gotta have. Try to find, but you fry it just like you would sausage.
Okay.
In a pan, just like you would sausage.
That's going to be an investigative. We're going to go Swamp Rat Bass and Brews investigative Chris Hansen mode to catch a liver pudding.
I'm thinking at this point in time, Swamp Rat Fishing needs to bring his wife and childrens down here to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Let cook.
I do.
And the other one is going to surprise the shit out of you. Hard salami.
Okay, I can do hard salami.
But
I mean, I wrote it down. I actually faked like I wrote it down because like 4 people have said hard salami. Hard salami, you can't beat that shit. That's super easy,
dude. Yeah, it's fucking delicious.
I want to tell you what, I'm gonna have a real hard time, but I'm gonna do what I can to find fried liver pudding. I don't know if I'm gonna get it this week.
But you're not going to find it fried. You have to buy the liver.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm going to buy liver pudding and then fry it myself. I'm going to film the whole thing, and then hopefully I live past it. Hopefully that's not the last episode of Bass and Brews and Sandwich Saturdays.
It won't be. You're going to be in so much. I can tell your wife has been behind this camera going, what the fuck?
No. When she watched me eat the liverwurst, when she opened up the fridge, she goes, why did the cat vomit in the fridge? And I said, she didn't. It's liverwurst. And she goes, why are you mad at me? And I said, I'm not mad at you.
So,
and then she watched the video and she's like, you're a fucking moron. And I said, I can't argue that.
One thing I want you to do is go find some souse meat.
What? What is that?
S-O-U-S-E.
What?
S-O-U-S-E. Souse.
S-O-U-S. That's not a real word, sir.
I'll tell you what souse meat is.
It's squirrel. It's squirrel and moose together.
Oh, it's all pig. It's all pork, so it's all delicious. But when you clean the pig and you boil down the head, you got all this stuff. So what you got left are the feet and some of the knuckles and all the joints. So what you do is you put all that shit in a pot and you boil it.
I thought we were becoming friends. I don't know why you want me to eat this.
It is absolutely delicious. And if you can't find good souse meat, I'll get you some homemade souse meat from the South.
I'm going to tell you right now, in New Jersey, you can't find souse meat.
Look, you'll be surprised. Go to Boar's Head. Find a Boar's Head.
That might be true. I might be able to find it at the butcher.
You can find souse meat.
All right, Paul. So, listen, this has been more than I thought it was ever going to be. This was an amazing podcast. And the one thing I've really learned is we've got to do this again.
Yeah.
This is not a 1-episode deal.
I know. I ain't even drunk yet.
I'm not even either. I'm a little disgusted on your fucking liver pudding. But so we're going to have to do this again. But we're going to say I do for now. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, do all the bullshit you're supposed to do there. If you're watching on Apple or whatever, do all that bullshit too. But thank you guys so much for watching.